My wife's friends told her to treat me like I was invisible for a month. 2 weeks later, I showed them what silence feels like. I'm Ethan, 34, and I've been married to Olivia for 6 years. I used to be a photographer, the kind who shot for galleries and art magazines. But somewhere along the way I let that version of myself disappear. Now I do corporate headshots and wedding packages, the kind of work that pays bills, but makes you forget why you picked up a camera in the first place. Olivia works in marketing, makes good money, and has this tight circle of friends who meet every Thursday for what they call book club. They don't actually read books, they drink wine and spend 3 hours complaining about their husbands. Thursday evening 2 weeks ago, I came home early from a client meeting. I had takeout in one hand and my camera bag in the other, thinking maybe we could have a quiet dinner together. The moment I opened the front door, I heard laughter from the living room. Book club was in full swing. 5 women spread across our couch and chairs, wine glasses everywhere. Monica was there. She's the one who seems reasonable. Jessica too, the loud one with no filter. And 3 others I recognized, but couldn't name. I walked in with a smile and said, "Hey everyone, don't mind me," and waited for the usual hellos. Instead, every single one of them went completely silent. Not awkward silence, deliberate silence. 5 pairs of eyes looked directly at me, and then through me like I'd turned invisible. I stood there holding Chinese food and feeling my smile die. "Olivia," I said, turning to my wife. She took a slow sip of wine and stared at a spot on the wall 2 feet to my left. Didn't blink, didn't move, nothing. I set the food on the counter and tried again. Did something happen? Nothing. I could hear them breathing, saw Monica shift uncomfortably, but nobody spoke. After 2 full minutes, I grabbed a beer and went upstairs to my office. They stayed until almost 11. When Olivia came up to bed, I tried to ask what happened. She walked right past me, brushed her teeth, climbed into bed, and turned off her lamp. I stood in the doorway of our own bedroom, feeling like I'd entered another dimension. The next morning, she was already up, sitting at the kitchen table with coffee and her phone. I said good morning. She scrolled through Instagram. I asked if she wanted breakfast. Silence. When she finished her coffee, she grabbed her purse and left for work without a single word. That's when real panic set in. I actually called her office and asked the receptionist if Olivia seemed okay. The receptionist laughed and said she was fine, chatting with everyone like normal. So she could talk. She just wouldn't talk to me. This continued for 3 solid days. She'd come home, make her own dinner, watch TV like I wasn't sitting 5 feet away. On day 4, I saw a text notification on her phone while she was in the shower. It was from Monica, and the preview said, "I still don't think this is right, Liv." My brain went into overdrive trying to figure out what wasn't right. I started paying closer attention. She wasn't sad or hurt or angry. She was just completely indifferent, like I was furniture. And she looked almost satisfied with herself. There was this tiny smile whenever I tried to talk, and she'd just walk past me. By the end of week 1, I stopped trying. I made my own meals, did my own laundry, moved into the guest bedroom. And something strange happened. I started feeling lighter. No more walking on eggshells. No more comments about how I never did anything right. No more guilt trips. Just silence. And in that silence, I could finally breathe. I went to the garage and dug out my old photography equipment, the professional stuff I hadn't touched in almost 4 years. I spent an entire evening cleaning lenses and charging batteries. That Saturday, I woke up early, grabbed my camera, and drove an hour outside the city to a state park I used to shoot at. I spent 6 hours there capturing landscapes and wildlife, completely absorbed in the work, feeling more like myself than I had in years. When I got home that evening, Olivia was on the couch with her laptop. I walked right past her to my office and started editing. Around midnight, I heard her footsteps in the hallway, saw her shadow stop outside my door. She stood there for maybe 30 seconds, then walked away. That's when it hit me. She wanted me to feel invisible. This was designed to break me down until I begged for her attention. But it was having the opposite effect. For the first time in 6 years, I wasn't being monitored or criticized or managed. I was just existing on my own terms. And I realized something that changed everything. I didn't miss her voice. I didn't miss the conversations. I didn't miss any of it. What I'd been missing all along was myself. Week 2 started with me waking up before my alarm, actually excited about the day. I had coffee on the porch, edited photos while the sun came up, and headed to work feeling more energized than I had in months. Olivia left without acknowledging me. Same routine, but I preferred it this way. Monday afternoon, I decided to check my old photography email account, the one I hadn't looked at in 2 years. I had to reset the password. When I finally got in, I found 63 unread messages dating back over 3 years. Gallery curators, art directors, photography collectives, people asking about prints, exhibition opportunities, freelance work. My hands started shaking. One was from a gallery in Portland asking about a group show. Another from a magazine editor wanting to commission a series. Even one from a curator at a contemporary art space downtown. All unanswered because I never saw them. I checked the email settings, and my stomach dropped. There was a forwarding rule I didn't set up. Every email to my photography address was being forwarded to Olivia's old Gmail account and marked as read. She'd been intercepting my emails for years. Every opportunity that came my way, she made sure I never saw it. I spent the next hour documenting everything. Screenshots of the forwarding rule, the unread messages with dates, everything saved to a thumb drive. Then I deleted the rule and changed all my passwords. That evening, I posted 3 of my best landscape shots on Instagram. Within an hour, I had 40 likes and comments. One was from Derek, an old friend from my photography collective days. He messaged, "Where the hell have you been? These are incredible. We need to catch up ASAP." We made plans for Saturday. When Olivia came home, she glanced at my phone. Couldn't see what was on it, but the fact that I was smiling seemed to irritate her. She made herself dinner while I stayed at the table. 2 people in the same room, living completely separate lives. Saturday, I met Derek at a coffee shop in the Arts District. We talked for 3 hours about cameras, composition, the local gallery scene. He mentioned a small gallery on 5th Street actively looking for new artists and said he'd introduce me to the owner. I said yes immediately. When I got home that afternoon, book club was meeting again. I walked through the living room and the conversation stopped instantly. Through the floor, I heard voices, Jessica arguing about something. Then I heard my name and Jessica saying something sharp that made the room go quiet. Around 8:30, someone knocked on my office door. Monica stood there looking uncomfortable. She leaned in and whispered, "This isn't right, Ethan," and hurried back downstairs. Those were the first words anyone besides Derek had said to me in almost 2 weeks. The next morning, Olivia was staring at her phone. She was looking at my Instagram. I could see my photos on her screen. She was scrolling through my posts, reading comments, her jaw getting tighter. When she noticed me watching, she slammed the phone down and left for work 30 minutes early. I spent that week building a portfolio. Every evening, I'd grab my camera and shoot around the city. I was producing the best work of my life in complete silence. Nobody telling me it was a waste of time. Nobody making me feel guilty. On Wednesday, I met with Lauren Mitchell, a divorce attorney. I told her everything, the silent treatment, the forwarding rule. She listened carefully and said, "You know this is emotional abuse and sabotage, right?" She walked me through the divorce process, the documentation I'd need. I left with a consultation folder and a clear plan. That same week, I started redirecting my paycheck from freelance gigs. I'd actually been saving money in a separate account for months, money from weekend shoots Olivia never paid attention to. There was almost $8,000 there, enough for a fresh start. I also started watching her schedule. Yoga every Tuesday at 7, back by 8:30. Grocery shopping Saturdays. Book club Thursdays. I was noticing patterns and understanding I had options. Thursday evening book club met for the 3rd time, and I stayed in my office. I could hear them downstairs, voices rising. At one point, Jessica said loudly, "He's doing better without you talking to him. Olivia, maybe that should tell you something." Then chairs scraping and someone leaving early. Friday morning, Olivia left a note on the counter. "We need to talk." I photographed it for documentation, crumpled it up, and threw it in the trash. Then I grabbed my camera and left. She'd wanted me to feel invisible, so I'd learn my place. Instead, I learned my place wasn't next to her. And now I was going to make that permanent. Day 14 was a Tuesday. During lunch, I drove across town to look at a 1-bedroom apartment near the Arts District. Huge windows with north-facing light, perfect for editing photos. The landlord wanted first month, last month, and security deposit. I wrote him a check for $4,200 and got the keys. That evening, Olivia was meal prepping with her earbuds in before yoga. I went upstairs and opened her laptop. She never used a password. Her messages app was right there, group chat with all 5 book club women from 2 weeks ago. I scrolled to the night this started. Monica had written, "I still think this is too harsh." Jessica replied, "He needs to understand what it feels like when we're ignored." Then Olivia's message. "We voted 30 days of complete silence. If he doesn't get the message by then, he never will. He needs to realize how his behavior affects me." I kept scrolling. Jessica writing, "This isn't working the way you thought." Olivia responding, "Give it time. He'll break eventually. They always do." And Olivia's response that made my blood run cold. "Once the 30 days are up and I start talking again, he'll realize how much he needs me." I took photos of everything with my phone. She turned our marriage into an experiment with her friends as the jury, so confident in her control, she never considered I might leave. At 6:50, Olivia left for yoga. I called Derek. I need that favor now. He said 15 minutes. We loaded everything in under 50 minutes. Clothes, camera gear, computer, documents, everything mine. Nothing we'd bought together. At 7:58, Derek left with the last load. I stood in our bedroom looking at her stuff everywhere, and my side completely empty. Then I grabbed the notepad by the phone. You wanted me invisible for 30 days, so I'd learn my place. 14 days was enough. I learned my place isn't here. Thanks for the silence. It taught me exactly what I needed to know. Divorce papers are coming. Don't contact me. I left the note on the kitchen counter and walked out at 8:17. At 9:42, my phone started buzzing. Olivia calling. I declined. Then texts flooding in. Where are you? What's happening? Ethan, answer me. This isn't funny. You can't just leave. I blocked her number. Next morning, I went to Lauren's office. She had the paperwork ready. The screenshots of the group chat, the email forwarding rule, the documentation. She said she has no grounds to contest anything. I signed the papers. Lauren filed them that afternoon. Over the next weeks, I settled into my new life. Hung photos on walls, set up an editing station. I reached out to that curator from downtown. He responded, better late than never. Are you still interested? We met and he offered me a spot in a group exhibition opening in 2 months. Derek introduced me to Sarah, the gallery owner on 5th Street. She looked through my landscape series and said, I want to do a solo show. How about early spring? I almost couldn't believe it. The work poured out of me. I'd shoot every evening, sometimes until 2 in the morning. I was producing the best work of my life. Olivia tried everything. Showed up at my old workplace, but I'd warned them. Sent emails I never opened. Had Monica text me, but I blocked her too. She even found Derek's studio. He called me and said, she's here asking where you live. I told him to threaten police if she came back. 6 weeks later, my first exhibition opened. The opening night was packed. The curator gave a speech about emerging voices and mentioned my work specifically. People bought prints. 3 sold that first night. A local arts magazine ran a feature with my photo. 3 months later, my solo exhibition opened at Sarah's gallery. 20 prints, sold 8 on opening night. I stood there watching people really look at my work, and I felt seen. For months later, the divorce was finalized. Olivia contested nothing because her lawyer probably saw those screenshots. The settlement was clean. We split shared assets. She kept the house. I didn't want anything from that place anyway. 6 months later, I was at my favorite coffee shop editing photos on a Saturday afternoon. Something made me look up. Olivia was sitting at a table by the window with some guy, both looking at a laptop. She'd gotten her hair cut shorter, wearing a blazer I didn't recognize. She saw me the exact same moment. Her face went pale, eyes wide. She said something to the guy and stood up like she was coming over. Our eyes met across the coffee shop. I looked at her for one long second. This person I'd spent 6 years with. This person who'd tried to make me invisible to teach me a lesson. This person who'd sabotaged my career to keep me dependent. Then I looked back down at my laptop and continued working. Adjusted a slider, fixed the contrast, completely focused like she wasn't there. I could see her standing there frozen in my peripheral vision. 10 seconds passed. 20. 30. Finally, she slowly sat back down, her face red, hands shaking. I saved my work, closed my laptop, packed my camera bag, and stood up. I had to pass within 5 feet of her table. She opened her mouth to say something. I walked past her like she was invisible, like she was furniture, like she was empty air. I heard her make a small sound, almost like a gasp, but I didn't look back. Outside, I stood on the sidewalk breathing in the cool air. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah asking about another show. I typed back, absolutely, with a smile. I walked to my car thinking about the shoot I had planned for tomorrow, the new lens I wanted to buy, the gallery opening next Friday. I thought about my apartment with the big windows and walls covered in my photographs. I thought about my life, my actual life, the one I was building on my own terms. She'd made me invisible to teach me a lesson about my place. Instead, I learned my place wasn't next to someone who thought marriage was a game she could win with her friends' votes. My place was exactly where I was now, doing the work I loved, surrounded by people who supported me, finally visible in all the ways that mattered. I got in my car and drove home, and I never looked back. What do you think about this story? Let me know in the comments, drop a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories.